All right, good morning, gang. Welcome. Good to see everybody already talking some NBA player props, already beginning the conversation for today's NBA slate. It's not a super huge slate or anything, kind of a smaller size NBA slate, but I think there's going to be lots of different ways for us to go. Plenty of picks, plenty of props for us to discuss. My name's CJ. In case you've never been here before, we talk daily player props over on PrizePicks, which is my favorite way to play daily fantasy sports and, in my opinion, the best site to play your player props. They offer more sports, more markets. You can mix and match. You can even miss a pick and still profit. So PrizePicks is doing a lot of things right. You can definitely check them out. If you want to deposit, maybe you've never played PrizePicks before, maybe you've never even heard of PrizePicks before, 100% instant deposit match still going on. Just use promo code Curry. You kind of see it floating above my head here. I'll leave a link down in the description below. Also down in the description below, links to Patreon, Discord, and Twitter. So give me a follow on all of those different platforms and join along in continuing the player prop conversation that we start here on YouTube each day. So as you can see up on the screen, PrizePicks is running their Road to 56 promotion. Thumbs up, guys. Leave a like on this video if you're digging the PrizePicks promotion that they're running here. This Road to 56, it's daily challenges basically that PrizePicks rolls out. Today is Wednesday, obviously February 9th. So today's challenge, Multi-Sport Madness. Place at least 3 multi-sport entries. And then in the fine print here, it says multi-sport entries must be placed on players in action on February 9th. So you can't place, let's say, an MMA entry, which won't happen until Saturday, right? The UFC event. So it has to be happening today. Whatever the multi-sport entry you place, those sports have to be taking place today, February 9th. Multi-sport is defined as an entry involving 2 or more different sports. For example, 1 NBA player and 1 CSGO player in a 2-pick entry. Mixed stat type does not qualify as a multi-sport entry. Refunded entries will not count towards your entry count. Rewards will be paid out on February 13th. So definitely take advantage of this Road to 56 promotion that they're running over on PrizePicks. Pretty cool. Basically, it leads up to a finale of you getting a shot at $5,000. $5,000 up for grabs if you complete each step of the way here. So definitely something to kind of keep an eye out on, and really cool promotion that PrizePicks is running. So appreciate everybody once again. Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully yesterday's Taco Tuesday treated you right. I believe all the tacos hit yesterday. The Sidney Crosby hockey taco came through. We had Joel Embiid's points, rebounds, and assists discounted thanks to your voting inside of the PrizePicks Discord. Thanks for doing your part, voting in a good quality player and a good player prop. And finally, the late night one, a little bit of a sweat. LeBron James and the Lakers struggled with the Milwaukee Bucks, but King James ended up delivering on his points prop. So all 3 tacos from yesterday came through clutch. So hopefully you were able to make the right pairings and profit with those tacos. Let's go through the chat real quick and say our hellos, our good mornings to everybody up in here. PXLLINN. I don't know how to say your name, my friend, but you say first, and indeed, you are first. Juan says second, and indeed, you are second in the chat. Good morning to you, fellas. Dylan, good morning to you. Desmond's in the building. Blowouts and Ivica Zubac cost us a lot of winnings. On to the next. Yeah, but I think, Desmond, you did a pretty good job at still turning a profit, at least from what it looked like. At least from what it looked like. You had a decent day despite the shortcomings of some of these players. But Mayo Heyo says Bulls game might be close. All right, we'll take a look at that. Chris B, what's happening to you? Matt Clark's in the building. Some brutal beats last night. Unfortunate. Yeah, some unfortunate props did not end up hitting. Travis Anderson's in the building. Hump Day special. Get it before it goes up. He's talking about Bridges over 3.5 assists. All right, maybe that one will come across our radar when we start doing our player prop research. Jimmy Green says, good morning, beautiful people. The fight on the road to 56 continues. Yeah, the Super Bowl's right around the corner. Pretty crazy that we're almost at the end of the NFL season. Matt Clark says, CJ, you need to be running PrizePicks after them breaking TOS last night. Okay, I'm not sure what the backstory is behind that, but I don't run, and I would not want to run PrizePicks. That seems like a tall task, a tough job. Chris Smith says, let's go. Need to recover from yesterday hitting on the early morning tennis. Shout out to you. King Chris 20, good morning. Taco Tuesday was money bags. Love it. JC says 19 people in the chat, but only 7 likes. Come on now, y'all. Smash that like button. He's right, though. In order for us to get the word out, the message out to as many people as possible, to grow the channel, to help as many folks like you who are watching right now, hopefully, we need to keep running the likes up. We need to keep hitting the subscribe button. We need to keep hitting the share button. And we'll keep getting the message out, getting the word out, and trying to help as many of you folks as possible daily. I will say this. As far as likes go, 3 days in a row now, guys. You guys have hit 200 plus likes on these streams. 3 days in a row. I'd like to keep that streak going. I'm just saying. 4 days in a row would be better than 3 days in a row at 200 or more likes. If you could do your part, drop a like on today's stream. You know I'll remind you throughout the stream, but that would be awesome. Let's get this thing started off right here on Hump Day, Wednesday. Shout out to Lowballer, Ronald's Green, Mark H is in the building, Aaron Rodgers. Patty Mills was absolutely bad last night. Listen, I was on him too, especially for his first half points, because I kind of thought maybe that game will blow out. And I think it ended up blowing out. But like the Nets bench players were way better than the starters. And Patty Mills absolutely sucked. Absolutely sucked. What's up to my man Everyday Fantasy, aka Don P111? He says, good morning, CJ. Patreon gang, live stream peeps. Let's get busy today on the fire. Big ups to CJ for all the help. Hey, you're welcome, man. Thank you for supporting me here on YouTube. Thank you for being an active member in the Patreon community as well. I appreciate you. All your support goes a long way, man. A little independent content creator. I'm just trying to help as many people as possible, and all your support really does go a long way. Even if you think leaving a simple like isn't doing much, it's really doing a lot. Truth be told, it's really doing a lot. So I appreciate you, man. Emma says, good morning, y'all. Run them likes up. What multi-sport entries are y'all feeling? Well, we've been talking about a few of them already in Discord. I think we got some CSGO picks rolling out in our private Discord channel, which you get as a member of the Patreon community. Most of our focus is NBA, but we've got some sharp CSGO players in there. We got some people crunching some numbers in there, putting out some very nice CSGO picks. So, you know, we're more than an NBA community. I'll say that. Drew Breeze, what up? Patreon gang in the building. Shout out to you, Drew. Going through here. Sed says, let's get it. Good morning to you, Sed. You're here almost every single day. I appreciate your support, my man. Timothy Scott says, Rodgers was good, my guy. All right. Silky Johnson, let's get this bread. Leroy's in the building. Love to see it. Who else we got in here today? Quepid, good morning to you. Big win last night. Hit my first $500 entry on PrizePicks. Now it's your turn. Love that, man. He wants to see everybody win. Shout out and congratulations to you, Quepid101. And he's wanting to pay it forward with the positive vibes. Love it. Love it. Felix, good morning to you. Paulius, on a 6-day losing streak, really need to have a good night tonight. Yeah, indeed. C. Chav says, CJ, my guy, our PrizePicks tickets look like Russell Westbrook last night. Yeah, I mean, some of the picks ended up not doing so well. But some of that stuff's out of our control, right? Like Ivica Zubac getting in foul trouble. We just can't control that, you know, and you have to just live with it. Anthony Simons was another guy that I liked, over 5.5 assists. He picked up 5 assists in like the first half or something like that, and then just, I don't know, turned into shoot first, score first Anthony Simons, and could not find that 6th assist. It was an elusive 6th assist. Worth Peak, good to see you. Accolade Rhymes, I have 2 major money props today that I want you to look into, but I will post them in the comments at the correct time of the show. Thank you for that. Appreciate you, my brother. Tyrone, good to see you. Chaz is in the building. Let's get this money today. Appreciate you being here, Chaz. Moonshine Titty Boy. Now that's a hell of a name. Moonshine Titty Boy is up in the building. Are you any relation to 2 Chainz? Titty Boy? That's a hell of a name. Donato Lombardi says, what's good, my guy? What's good with you? Eric, what's happening? McNasty's in the building. Isaac's in the building. I see you, Isaac. Happy Wednesday. Let's stay hot. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see. What else? Who else? Blaze to the Sky Media Group. What's up? CJ and the Patreon/Discord. Blaze to the Sky Media Group. Listen, you're in here on these live streams and you're saying shout out to the Patreon group. What is your name in Discord? I'd like to put YouTube names with Discord names so I know who I'm talking about. But shout out for you supporting everything that I got going on, my man. Appreciate you. Essam's in the building. Thank you for the good morning. Let's make some bread. Yeah, we're going to be baking up some bread, huh? Baking up some bread. LA Live, good to see you. Matt's in the building. NFL Dubois. Lots of blowouts last night. He makes a very solid point. Zach says, rough night. Let's bounce back. Let's do it. Keaton. That sounds more, Keaton. Good to see you. Base the Wolf. What's happening? Justin, shout out to you. Cito MB, get me right. I'm going to try, man. The Gone Network. Like to see that. Help Meha. Let's not talk about Simons. All right. We'll leave Simons in the past. Silky Johnson, good to see you. What up, CJ? I called in sick just to watch you, bro. This cough ain't from Rona. Now, that is also a very funny name. This cough ain't from Rona. Well, it looks like a lot of you guys turned those tacos into profits. So let's try and keep the momentum going today. Osmosis Jones, love to see it. Good morning to you. Won 250 last night. Cameron. All right. Cito MB says, in CJ we trust. Well, listen, I trust these numbers, so let's get down to it, all right? Medium-sized NBA slate. Listen, we're talking PrizePicks. Like I said, if you don't use PrizePicks or have never played a PrizePicks, never heard of it before, check it out, man. Check it out. Promo code Curry, 100% instant deposit match. We're going to be talking some points, rebounds, and assists, rebounds, and three-point makes. So let's get started with the game breakdowns here. 7 p.m., San Antonio Spurs at the Cleveland Cavaliers, 216.5 points, 5.5-point spread. So this game, pretty decent total. Not really worried about the spread. It looks like it's going to stay pretty close and competitive. Keep an eye on Darius Garland for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He is the biggest piece of injury news here. We also, guys, have to factor in Caris LeVert. Caris LeVert is now on the Cleveland Cavaliers. He will undoubtedly shake things up. There will be a redistribution of usage, in other words. You don't just add a player like Caris LeVert to your roster and expect that everybody will eat. I would expect that some of these guys take a little bit of a step back. The guys that we've been dependent on this season, the Darius Garlands, the Jared Allens, the Evan Mobleys, right? I think these guys could end up taking a step back when you add a high usage type of player like Caris LeVert to the mix. So that'll be interesting. For me, I might end up avoiding the Cleveland Cavaliers. I want to take the wait and see approach. I want to see how things shake out. How will Garland and LeVert get along? How will Mobley and Allen get along in the front court with the new, guard, the new addition with Caris LeVert? So you got to keep an eye on some of these teams that made trades recently. Things are going to be a little shaky and a little bit dicey, all right? It's going to shake things up. It just will. The chemistry is going to be a little funky. All right, so 7:30 p.m., the Chicago Bulls at the Charlotte Hornets. We got 234 points on the board. 234, guys. I'm going to say it one more time for you guys in the back. 234 points. That's a lot of points. Pretty big total here. 2-point spread in favor of the visitors, the Chicago Bulls. Now, keep an eye on the Bulls. They got a lot of injury news. Same old, though. Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Jones Jr. Williams. Dosunmu is one who's more recently been ruled out for Chicago. So it'll be the likes of Kobe White and Zach LaVine in the backcourt. And then, of course, Javonte Green, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic. So a little bit of a shift in their starting lineup as Dosunmu, our boy Ayo, who we've been taking the assist props on a lot lately, he'll be out of the mix, out of the rotation tonight. Over on the Charlotte side, keep an eye on Bo Knight. He is a game time decision. McDaniels, Martin, and Hayward already ruled out. So no Gordon Hayward for the Charlotte Hornets. He got knocked out. A little bit of an injury thing happened to him in the last game. So Gordon Hayward will be out, meaning Kelly Oubre likely to step into the starting lineup. But I love the total on that game. Love the spread as well. 8 p.m. Toronto Raptors at the Oklahoma City Thunder, 207.5 points. Not a very high total. Looks like it's going to be one of those slow, low-scoring, snail-paced type of games, right? As implied by the total of being just 207.5. Not a lot of points expected to be scored by these two teams. 9.5-point spread on top of that. This might be a game to target some unders on. You got a low total game. You got a spread that's teetering, that's borderline blowout. Don't be afraid to take some unders in a full game format. If you want to take any overs, highly recommend you check into some first half only plays here. First half only overs definitely could be on the table. OKC still without SGA. They're also missing Roby, Robinson Earl, Wiggins, Muscala. I mean, they're dealing with a whole bunch of injuries here. So it'll be the likes of Josh Giddey and Lou Dort and Darius Bazley. Believe it or not, Darius Bazley's been stepping up for OKC here lately. They will try to carry the load for Oklahoma City and try to make this game competitive, but I don't like their chances. I think this game does end up blowing out at some point. Not a matter of if, but more of a matter of when. 10 p.m., the Golden State Warriors at the Utah Jazz, 220.5 points. So pretty healthy total at 220.5. Spread 1.5 in favor of Utah, the home team. Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles still out for Utah. We got Rudy Gay as a game time decision. Over on the Golden State side, Kevon Looney, game time decision. So he kind of popped up out of nowhere. The Golden State Warriors already pretty thin in their front court, missing the likes of Draymond Green, James Wiseman. Klay Thompson will not play tonight, nor will Bjelica or Iguodala. So they got a lot of injuries over on the Golden State side. Hopefully Kevon Looney plays, but if he doesn't, I don't know who's going to step in there and take over at the center spot. But anyway, looks like a pretty nice total and a game that should stay close according to Vegas lines makers. 10 p.m. also brings us the Los Angeles Lakers at the Portland Trail Blazers. Both of these teams on a back-to-back. Both on a back-to-back. We saw the Lakers struggle with the Milwaukee Bucks last night. Giannis looked freaking good. Giannis, the Greek freak, Antetokounmpo, looked really good last night. Looked like he's the best player in the league good. Now, we had a little bit of debate in Discord. Would you rather have Giannis Antetokounmpo right now or LeBron James on your team? In other words, think of it like this. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, do you feel like your team gets better by trading Giannis for LeBron straight up? I don't think I'd do it if I'm the Bucks. I don't think there's anybody I would trade Giannis for. The way that the Milwaukee Bucks are constructed, I don't think there's anybody in there that out in the league that I would trade Giannis for straight up that I think makes my team significantly better. I just don't. I think Giannis might be arguably the best player in the league right now. Just saying. That's just my 2 cents. Anyway, Portland, obviously, they made some moves recently. They got a whole different cast of characters here. Norman Powell's out of there. Robert Covington is out of there. CJ McCollum is out of there. So it remains to be seen who's going to be stepping in, who's going to be active for Portland tonight. You got Satoransky. He's new to the team. Eric Bledsoe's new to the team. You got NAW. Alexander Walker. He's new to the team. Josh Hart's new to the team. Will any of these guys be suiting up tonight? I don't know. I don't know that they're going to make their debut just yet. Over on the Lakers side, Dwight Howard is a game time decision. And then you've got Carmelo Anthony as the biggest piece of injury news. He is ruled out. So no Carmelo Anthony revenge narrative against Portland tonight. So you're looking at a 9-point spread, 222 points on the board. For me, probably going to be a first half only play if I want to take overs. Now you could go full game. And if you want to go full game, maybe take some unders if you think the game blows out, but be a little more selective, a little more cautious with your full game picks, all right? You think KD? Kawhi? Oh, no, man. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm Milwaukee that I make that trade. Giannis for KD, Giannis for Kawhi. Man, I don't know that I'm trading anybody for Giannis right now. I don't know that I'm taking anybody over Giannis if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, Giannis looked freaking good. Not only in the NBA Finals last year, he looked really good last night. All right? Spliff King, you were heavy in that conversation last night. You already know where I stand. You already know where I stand on Giannis Antetokounmpo. Big time Giannis stan right here. Anyway, I digress. That is another conversation for another time. Maybe I'll start doing some videos with like hot topics like that, and we'll go live and we'll discuss together. We'll have those debate type videos. Maybe we'll do some different style videos and not talk so much about picks and stats and stuff. We'll make it an open forum and we'll cover some hot topics. That might be a cool format, fun format. Anyway, on to the picks we go. We're going to start things off here by looking at some points props. Obviously, one way that we like to filter down the slate is by looking at the hit rates. And I like to look at the last 10 games. Who's been hitting at a high hit rate? And we kind of go from there, right? That's where we kind of start our research off. So let's do that now. Starting things off with some guys who are covering their point props at a very high clip. One guy is Mike Conley Jr. at 13.5 points. Mike Conley Jr. currently not up on the board. And probably for good reason. Mike Conley Jr. at 13.5 points has covered this prop in 90% of his last 10 games. So that's a 9 out of 10 hit rate. So if you can get Mike Conley Jr. at some point in the day here on PrizePicks, I would highly recommend you look at taking him over 13.5 points. He has been on one. Jakob Poeltl is another guy that we should have on our radar. He's been covering his points prop at 11.5 points at a very high clip as well, an 80% hit rate for Jakob Poeltl. You look at the last 5 games here, he's still rocking an 80% hit rate. Over the last 5 games, he's been playing excellent basketball, dropping 18, 21, and 21 points over the last 5 games. So not an easy matchup for him tonight, going up against Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, Kevin Love and company. He's got his work cut out for him, but he has gotten it done against some good centers in the past. The likes of Christian Wood, the likes of Steven Adams, the likes of Nikola Vucevic. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at Jakob Poeltl here, rocking that 80% hit rate last 10, 80% hit rate in the last 5. Let's take a look at this matchup here against Cleveland, see how many points they've been giving up over the last 7 games to the center spot. So we go down here. They're a pretty tough defense, as I mentioned, giving up just 19.3 points. You kind of see where they rank, which is down toward the bottom. They're giving up the 8th fewest points over the last 7 games to opposing centers. Now, he needs just 12 points. They're giving up about 19.3, so there is some room here for upside. There's a little bit of ceiling here for Jakob Poeltl to potentially hit the over here. So let's go ahead and take a look at a projection here. For that, we're going to be using Action Labs. Part of Fantasy Labs, we've got Jakob Poeltl projected for 13.8 points today, which puts him over 11.5 by about 2.3 points. So we're seeing a pretty nice little edge here, a pretty nice little lean toward the over. Definitely cross references. Check this on some other sites. There's some other sites out there that offer free projections for props. Numberfire, Betting Pros, RotoWire. You could check those out. Just to kind of cross-reference and see what the consensus is. But listen, the betting public is eating this prop up, meaning they are taking the over here. Minus 125, minus 124, minus 130, minus 140 even on some sites to go over 11.5 points. So they're really liking Jakob Poeltl here at 11.5 points. The betting public, like I said, snatching this prop up. Another guy that you could go with is DeMar DeRozan. Somebody already mentioned him, I think, this morning in the chat. At 28.5 points over the last 10 games, he's been covering at an 80% clip. That's 8 out of 10 in the last 10 games. In the last 5 games, 4 out of 5, which is still 80%. And he's averaging 34.2 points per game. Over 34 points per game, and his prop line is just 28.5, going against a Charlotte Hornets team that typically plays at a fast pace. They're kind of up-tempo, run-and-gun style team. We already looked at the totals on this game. They're really high. We already looked at the spread on this game. It's really close, which is 2 good signs here that we should feel comfortable taking an over on a guy like DeMar DeRozan, even at a lofty point total of 28.5. Even though his prop line's kind of high at 28.5, showing a great ability to get it done over the last 10 and the last 5 games. So let's go ahead and take a look at this matchup. DeRozan, kind of slots in. We'll just call him a forward, small forward, power forward. Him and Javonte Green, kind of, whatever, interchangeable, right? So we'll take a look at the Charlotte Hornets here over the last 7 games. How many points are they giving up to the small forward position? About 22.07 points per game, which puts them just outside the top 10, right around the top 10 most. We'll also look at the power forward spot here. Like I said, kind of interchangeable, these Bulls forwards. So we find Charlotte, they're giving about 20.5 points per game to the power forward position. A little bit more difficult matchup at the 4 spot. So he'll likely draw, I don't know, Kelly Oubre maybe on defense. Maybe it'll be Miles Bridges. I'm not sure who they're going to put on DeMar DeRozan, but I'm not really worried about either one of those guys slowing down DDR the way that he's been playing. So let's go ahead and pull up a projection here for DeMar DeRozan. Got him projected for 28.2 points, which is really close to 28.5. I mean, this could be one of those props where you end up sweating it out. I mean, just based on the projections here. I will tell you this, the betting public, 4 different sites, 4 different books, all taking the over. They're riding the hot hand of DeMar DeRozan at 28.5 points. Like I said, not really afraid of the matchup, not really worried about this game blowing out. Looks like it's going to be a high point total. Looks like it's going to stay close and competitive between these 2 teams, so I'm not really scared off by anything. So if you want to take the over on DeMar DeRozan here, I'm with it. I really ain't mad at it. Keldon Johnson's another guy who's been covering his point prop at a pretty high clip, 70% hit rate over the last 10 games. We look at the last 5 games in 80% hit rate. So 70% last 10, 80% last 5. Gotta love that, right? Anything that you're getting that's like 60, 70, 80%, you should definitely look into it a little further. So Keldon Johnson here at 14.5 points. We've seen 23 points put up by him, 21 points, 28 points. He's facing off against Cleveland tonight. Let's take a look at this matchup here for a guy averaging 19 points per game over the last 5 games. The Cavaliers versus small forwards, we're going to go down a ways. They're giving up about 19.1 points, which in terms of ranking, they rank as one of the tougher teams on paper. But in terms of the points per game that they're giving up to the position, there's some upside here. Keldon Johnson needs just 15 points to get the job done versus Cleveland. So let's go get you a projection here on KJ, Mr. Keldon Johnson. I got him projected for 16.7 points. That's over 2 points higher than his prop line of 14.5. So there's definitely some upside here, according to the projections here provided by Fantasy Labs. And then at 14.5 points across 4 different sites, 4 different books, the betting public, once again, smashing the over. Minus 120, minus 116 betting favorite to score at least 15 or more points. So Keldon Johnson's another guy that you should probably consider. And then finally, the last guy up on the board here in terms of a 70% or better hit rate on his points props in the last 10 games, Gary Trent Jr., GTJ. 70% hit rate in the last 10 games. We look at the last 5, an 80% hit rate. Listen, he had that string of games where he was going for 30 or more points. I don't know how many games it was, like 6 games in a row or something, where he was just dropping 30 bombs left and right. He has cooled off lately. Since February 3rd, 16, 19, and 24. Now, that's not to say that he still can't be a walking bucket. This guy can get hot, especially against a bad team like OKC. But he has definitely cooled off over the last 3 games compared to the previous like 5 or 6 games where he was just dropping 30 points or more left and right. So let's take a closer look at this matchup here. He is obviously the shooting guard for the Toronto Raptors. We're going to go see how many points per game Oklahoma City's giving up to opposing shooting guards. But we also have to keep in mind that this Oklahoma City squad over the last 7 games has been dealing with a plethora of injuries. So they will not be 100% by any means. So we might want to take this number with a grain of salt here, but they are giving up a pretty healthy number, almost 22 points per game to opposing shooting guards. You can kind of see where they rank, where they fall in place, middle of the pack. So we're not really scared off by this matchup. I'm not. He needs 19. They're giving up about 22 per game. Let's go take a projection look here at Gary Trent. The projection's looking pretty good for him. 19.2 projected points. Again, cross references on some of those other sites that I mentioned. You got NumberFire, you got RotoWire, you got Betting Pros. There's a number of different sites out there that offer free props. Now, I like Action Labs personally because they do fantasy points, they do single stat player props, they cover a lot of different markets, prop markets. So I go with Fantasy Labs and Action Labs. You have to pay for this though. It is not free, unfortunately, not free. But anyway, 19.2 is their projection. And then at 18.5 points, it looks like the public is slamming the over once again on 18.5 points. So they're buying into Gary Trent Jr. You can also look at him as a potential first half only play. As I mentioned, this game looks like one that is probably on the cusp of a blowout. OKC dealing with so many injuries. The Toronto Raptors pretty much 100% healthy, and they're obviously the much better team. So, are you guys rocking with Gary Trent Jr. over on points, under on points, or are you going to fade? Accolade, it is not pre-recorded. I guess maybe you're new here. What I do is kind of like put you on some plays that are like the high hit rates. And then at the end of the show, I start taking your questions. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go through like 100, 200 comments in chat and go like cherry pick your favorite plays. And that becomes kind of difficult to do. So, no, Accolade. It is not pre-recorded. I appreciate you donating to the stream. I'm sorry, got a lot going on here. Trying to feed you guys the picks and stuff. All right, it is not pre-recorded though. Promise you that. Anyway, hang in there, buddy. We'll get to your questions and stuff at some point. Just not yet. All right. So we talked about some points. Let's go ahead and talk about some assist props. And while we talk about assist, you could give me an assist by hitting the thumbs up on this stream if you haven't yet. I appreciate you in advance for hitting the like button. Let's go see what assist props we have up on the board. Switch this up here. And then the top hitting assist guys, we're going to take a look at those. Starting things off with this dude, Derek White. 4.5 assists over the last 10 games, a 90% hit rate. 90% hit rate on Derek White at 4.5 dimes. So 9 out of 10 games he has actually covered this prop. So 5 or more assists have been easy for Derek White. Over the last 5 games, you can see his hit rate is 4 out of 5. So that's an 80% hit rate. Thank you, Accolade. Thank you for the sticker. I appreciate it. This is not pre-recorded. I appreciate the sticker. Thank you. Cool. See, Chav, that's okay. You can hit the dislike button. I don't mind you hitting like or dislike. Doesn't really matter to me. All engagement is welcome. So if you don't like what I'm doing either, see, Chav, then you can also hit the dislike button, but whatever. Derek White, 90% hit rate over the last 10 games, 80% hit rate over the last 5 games, averaging 6 assists per game over the last 5 games. So let's go take a look at this matchup for Derek White here. Obviously, more of the shooting guard, I would say, for the San Antonio Spurs, while DeJounte Murray is typically more your primary ball handler, more of the point guard. But we go over to the Cleveland Cavaliers and take a look at this matchup. Cavs giving up about 4.3 assists per game, which, you know, kind of puts them right in the middle of the pack. So not an overly difficult, but not an overly easy matchup either, kind of a middle of the pack. Just to look at the other spot here, the point guard position, let's go see how many assists that the Cavs are giving up to point guards. It's about 7.5, so decent number, not too high, not too low, but there's a little bit of wiggle room here for Derek White in this matchup. So let's go pull up a projection here for Mr. White. I got Derek White projected for 5.9 assists, which is about 6 assists. Pretty healthy number, about 1.5 more assists versus this 4.5 across 3 different sites here. We've got him as a big betting favorite to go over, minus 145 odds on some sites, minus 130 on others. So the betting public, once again, really liking Derek White in this particular matchup here. So high hit rates, 90%. You don't see that very often. Over the last 5 games, 80%. I mean, really, really strong hit rates. So, I mean, I think you would definitely want to consider a guy that's been hitting at those types of hit rates. Steph Curry is another guy at 6.5 assists. 6.5 assists. He's been covering that in 8 out of his last 10 games. We look at the last 5 games at 6 assists. We're getting him at 6 on PrizePicks. 6 dimes on PrizePicks last 5 games. He's actually hit 6 or more in 100% of those 5 games. He's gone 5 out of 5, averaging 8 dimes per game. So Steph Curry at 6 assists here, been getting the job done. He's covered or exceeded 6 assists in 4 out of 5. So 80% at going over 6 assists, but at exactly 6 or more, 100%. So either way you cut it, really good hit rates here for Curry over the last 10 and over the last 5. So let's look at this matchup for Steph going up against the Utah Jazz. This game, again, looks like one that's going to have a pretty healthy total. Looks like one that should stay pretty close and competitive. Utah, over the last 7 games, to opposing point guards, they are allowing between 8 and 9 assists, more often than not closer to 9 assists. So definitely a little bit of upside, a little bit of wiggle room here for Steph Curry to reach the over if you plan on taking it. Let's go pull up a projection for Steph. Got him projected for 6.3 dimes. Now, the reason we're getting him at 6 assists instead of 6.5 on PrizePicks is because I think we're seeing a lot of action here out on the various sports books. People smashing the under. At 6.5 assists, he's a betting favorite to go under at minus 145 odds on 2 sites. There's a third site that has him as a betting favorite to go under at minus 135 odds. So PrizePicks has adjusted accordingly. They turned the dial down. They shaved off the hook, rounded off that 0.5, and brought him down to an even 6. So for me, I'd say that with the high hit rates, I mean, you'd have to probably think about leaning toward the over on Steph Curry. And maybe you end up tying, maybe you end up pushing, but that wouldn't be the end of the world, right? Wouldn't be the worst thing that could happen to you. Taking a look at some of these other guys here. We got Fred VanVleet, 7.5 assists for him, 70% hit rate for Fred VanVleet. That's another guy who's been getting the job done at 7.5 dimes. So 7 out of his last 10 games, he has been getting the job done. We look at the last 5 games, 3 out of 5, 60% hit rate. That hit rate has dropped or slid just a little bit. Going up against OKC in a potential blowout situation, do you think Fred VanVleet will be getting more points, more assists? I mean, which way are you guys leaning toward on Fred VanVleet if you're taking him at all? Maybe you don't want to take him at all. But let's go look at Fred VanVleet here. Typically, he doesn't have 2 underperforming assist games in a row. If you kind of look at the last 5 games, he'll have 6 assists, and then he pops back up with 9, right? So maybe he's in a bounce back spot here against OKC. We're going to go to the point guard position, and we're going to go take a look and see how many assists the Oklahoma City Thunder have been giving up. They're giving up about 8.1. 8.1. He's at 7.5. So against OKC, he's going to, really need to find a lot of dimes here. They're not giving up a ton at just 8.1. So I would say that the ceiling, not so high here on Fred VanVleet in this particular matchup. Let's go pull a projection up for VanVleet. I got him projected for 7.2 assists. At 7.5 assists, we're seeing some mixed signals here. We're seeing him at betting favorite on one side, betting favorite to go over, and then on another side, he's a betting favorite to go under. So betting public's kind of all over the place. All over the place here with Fred VanVleet in this assist prop. It's been a mixed bag, a little bit of up, a little bit of down. So don't know that I love him quite as much as the previous 2 players we talked about, Steph Curry and Derek White. The final guy that we'll mention is DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray, the other San Antonio Spurs guard that typically drops some dimes. DeJounte Murray, 9.5 assists last 10 games. He has covered this in 70% of his games. 70% of his games. So that's why we're mentioning him. 7 out of 10. Last 5 games, even better at 9 or more assists, a 100% hit rate on DeJounte Murray. And tonight, obviously, he's facing Cleveland. He's averaging 10.6 assists per game over the last 5. So let's look at this matchup once again. Point guards versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavs giving up right about 7.5 assists, which puts them down toward the bottom of the pack. Seventh fewest in the last 7 games. Let's get you a projection here on DeJounte Murray. Got him projected for exactly 9 dimes, which is where he's at on PrizePicks, but we're seeing something kind of interesting here. Out on your favorite sports books, we're seeing him as a betting favorite at 8.5 assists, minus 150 odds. We're also seeing him at 9.5 assists on some sites, as a betting favorite to go under at 9.5 assists. So PrizePicks is kind of taking the middle of the road here. Between 8.5 and 9.5. They landed on 9, split the difference kind of thing. So maybe you lean toward the over on DeJounte Murray, realizing that, hey, there's a good chance that maybe this guy ends up tying or pushing on 9 assists. But looking like a pretty good way to go here with his high hit rates. George is saying under on Murray. All right. Not loving DeJounte Murray so much. All right, I ain't mad at you. Accolade coming through with a pretty strong super chat here. He says, guaranteed money making play according to my research, but I need approval from CJ Curry. DeJounte Murray under 9 assists versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Zach LaVine over 24.5 points against Charlotte. Well, we just got done talking about DeJounte Murray, funny enough. Maybe we could take it a step further for you, though. Maybe we could look at DeJounte Murray assists versus Cavaliers logs. And it looks like he faced the Cavs back on January 14th of this year. So he's got one previous matchup in his game log against Cleveland from this season. In that game, he played 36 minutes, had a hell of a game, 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 assists. So maybe you don't take his assists. Maybe you consider him as a fantasy point play or a PRA play. I mean, that's 44 plus the 8. I mean, you're looking at like 52 PRA. He crushed it the last time he played Cleveland. He's at 39.5 PRA tonight. So if you don't like just his standalone assist prop, the guy dropped 30, 14, and 8 against Cleveland the last time they played. So maybe you consider him as more of a PRA option than just solely on assists. Now, your other play that you mentioned is Zach LaVine over 24.5 points versus the Charlotte Hornets. So we're going to backtrack just a minute here and take a look at Zach LaVine real quick. 24.5 points versus Charlotte. I think Zach LaVine's coming in pretty cheap here at 24.5. You know, him and DeRozan can absolutely get white hot at any game, any given moment, right? He had 32 against Phoenix just 2 games ago. 32. He's also got 30-point upside against a team like San Antonio, 26 against Orlando. So obviously Zach LaVine's coming in 4 points lower than his teammate DeMar DeRozan. I think these guys are almost interchangeable in terms of, you know, who could get hot on any given night. So let's take a look at the matchup here for Zach LaVine real quick and help my man Accolade Rhymes out. Thank you again for that super chat. So we go take a look at the matchup here, Zach LaVine versus the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte giving up nearly 23 points per game. Nearly 23 points per game, so that puts them right outside the top 10. Not a matchup that we're shying away from by any means, especially with the game total being what it is. So looking pretty good here. And then we'll take a look at this little guy. The projection. Got him projected for 28 points, which is a lot more than 24.5. And then you're seeing across 4 different sports books, 4 different sites, he is a betting favorite to go over 24.5. So, yeah, I don't mind you taking Zach LaVine. If you think DeMar DeRozan at 28.5 is maybe a little too rich for your blood, Zach LaVine makes for a fine pivot at 4 points fewer. All right. So we talked about some assist props. We talked about some points props. Let's take a look at some rebounds. Some other guys that you should be considering here for rebound props, guys who've been hitting at a high hit rate. We talked about Jakob Poeltl already for points. Now we're talking about rebounds. So he's probably also a worthwhile look at points, rebounds, and assists. But right now, at 8.5 rebounds over the last 10 games, 7 out of 10 of those games, he has covered 8.5 boards. Over the last 5, his hit rates dropped just a little bit, down to 60%, down to 8.4 rebounds per game on average in that 5-game span. Let's go to the center spot here and take a look at this matchup. He's going up against Jared Allen, Evan Mobley and company, like we talked about earlier. Cavaliers, last 7 games, giving up about 15.5 boards per game to opposing centers. So you can see that puts him like right in the middle of the pack. Not too tough, not too easy of a matchup. Just kind of an average matchup for Jakob Poeltl. He needs to find 9 rebounds tonight, which I think is totally possible, totally doable. Let's go pull a projection up for Jakob Poeltl. I think he's going to be kind of a play that a lot of people look at tonight. Got him projected for 10 boards. Now I'm seeing him at 8.5 rebounds on some sites. Two out of those sites, 2 out of the 3, people are smashing the over at 8.5 boards. Minus 140, minus 145 betting favorite to go over 8.5 boards. One cool thing that we're seeing here is that one site and their lines makers believe that 9.5 rebounds is the appropriate line for Jakob Poeltl, meaning they think 9 to 10 rebounds is within reach for the big man. So we are kind of getting the value play, a little bit of a value play here. He's 1 rebound less than some of the sports books out there. So I think at 8.5 boards, he is definitely worth digging into a little bit deeper. Another guy that's been getting it done for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, Mason Plumlee. I'm sure a lot of you guys took the over on Mason Plumlee the last time he took the floor, which was against the Toronto Raptors. He needed, I believe, 9 rebounds in that game. Ended up finishing with 7 boards. Had been on a pretty nice little streak of double-digit rebound games. 10 against Miami, 11 against Cleveland, 17 against Boston, 10 against the Clippers. I think he also had another 20 rebound game or another 17 rebound game. Yeah, like King United says, Plumlee PTSD, perhaps. There could be some Plumlee PTSD still. I get it. I definitely get it. High scoring game though, and a game that looks like it's going to stay close and competitive. Plus you got a guy that's been hitting this 8.5 at a 70% clip. Last 5 games, 80% hit rate, averaging 11 rebounds per game. So he's got some potential. He's been getting more active on the rebounds here lately. So let's go look at this matchup. Center position, we're talking rebounds. How many boards are the Chicago Bulls given up over the last 7 games? Right behind Cleveland at right around 15.5 boards per game. So there's some upside here for Mason Plumlee. For a team that's given up 15 to 16 rebounds per game, he just needs to find 9 in a high scoring type of game. So let's go pull a projection for him. Mason Plumlee could be in a bounce back spot. We got him projected for 9.8 rebounds, close to 10 if we round it up. We're seeing him at 7.5 and 8.5 boards on a couple of different sites. Now, it is a little bit concerning, so kind of the inverse of what we were just talking about with Jakob Poeltl. We had Poeltl at 8.5 on some sites, but 9.5, a higher number than PrizePicks on other sites. Well, this is a little different. Mason Plumlee's at 8.5 on 2 sports books, but he's also at 7.5 on one other site. So the fact that their lines makers think that 7.5 rebounds is the more appropriate line for Mason Plumlee makes me a little bit concerned, to say the least. At 7.5, people are absolutely eating it up. Minus 170 favorite to go over 7.5, but at 8.5, they are taking the under. Minus 125 at 8.5. So the betting public not loving Mason Plumlee to go over at 8.5 rebounds. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other guys who've been getting it done. There's one other guy here hitting at a 70% hit rate in the last 10 games, and it's probably not somebody that you would expect. Terry Rozier. The last 10 games for Terry Rozier, he has covered in 7 of 10. The last 5 games, even better, 4 out of 5 or 80%. So he's improved his hit rate over the last 5 games. Averaging 4.8 rebounds per game. Now, for a while there, we were riding Terry Rozier's assist prop every night, taking the over. But now things have shifted a little bit. He's not dishing dimes out like he was before. Now he's pulling in boards, cleaning the glass. Terry Rozier has a new profession. It's not a dime dropper anymore. He's a board getter. Chairman of the boards, Terry Rozier. Never thought I'd say it, but he's getting the job done. So let's go take a look at the matchup. He's a shooting guard going up against the Chicago Bulls. Chicago, last 7 games, they are giving up about 5.3. We'll call it 5.4 rebounds per game. So somewhere between 5 and 6 boards per game to opposing shooting guards. Now you look at this as far as where they rank. That is the 6th fewest in that 7-game span. So kind of a tough matchup from what it looks like on paper. But he's gotten the job done against tougher matchups in the past, right? So let's go pull a projection up for Terry Rozier. Got him projected for 5.4 rebounds at 4.5 boards, though. The betting public saying, we ain't buying it. We are not buying Terry Rozier and his new profession as glass cleaner. We're taking the under. We're seeing minus 120, minus 135 betting odds for him to go under and stay under 4.5 boards. What do you guys think? Are you buying into Terry Rozier over 4.5 rebounds, or are you selling? Thumbs up if you're taking the over here. Thumbs down if you're not going to touch this prop, or if you're taking the under on Terry Rozier. All right, so that's going to do it for your top hitting rebound guys. So just to recap, Jakob Poeltl, 70% hit rate last 10. Mason Plumlee, 70% hit rate in his last 10. And Terry Rozier, also a 70% hit rate in his last 10. So those are your top hitting rebounders over the last 10 games. Let's go ahead and take a look at PRA. Now that we've talked points, rebounds, and assists, we'll combine them all into one single stat here. Points, rebounds, and assists. Appreciate everybody leaving the thumbs down. It looks like a lot of you people are not buying into the fact that Terry Rozier is going to get on the glass again tonight. William saying that Terry Rozier is going to be at the three-point line the whole game. So he's going to have to depend on some long rebounds. Is that what you're saying? In order to get the job done? You might have a good point. So let's talk PRA. We're seeing a couple of guys that we've already talked about for points and rebounds respectively. Guys like Jakob Poeltl showing up on the high hit rate list here for points, rebounds, and assists. Because over the last 10 games, he has covered 22.5 PRA at an 80% clip. So that's 8 out of 10 games. We look at the last 5 games for Poeltl here. He's hit 30 or more PRA in 4 out of 5. Dude has been absolutely hot. Now, he did have a really cold game against Golden State, pulling in just 13 PRA in that contest. But overall, 28.6 points, rebounds, and assists has been really good. Really good. Good average there. So let's look at this matchup against Cleveland. Let's take a look and see how many points, rebounds, and assists that they're giving up to opposing centers over the last 7 games. So they're giving up about 19 points, about 15.5 rebounds. So already we're sitting at like 35, 36 PRA, and then 4 assists. So right around 40 PRA given up by Cleveland. So maybe PRA is a better way to go. But, you know, the points, the rebounds, and the assists all look pretty good for Jakob Poeltl. So don't mind this matchup whatsoever, despite what we know about Cleveland and them being kind of a tough team, right? I got Poeltl projected for 26.8 PRA. And I will tell you this, gang, at 22.5, we're getting 1 point of value on this prop because I'm seeing him at 23.5 PRA out on your favorite sports books. Now, 23.5, slight favorite to go under 23.5, but we're getting him at 22.5. I would have to imagine that he's probably a betting favorite to go over at 22.5. So liking the fact that we're seeing 1 point of value on this particular prop and that the projections seem to love him as much as they do. Another guy that we've already talked about is DeMar DeRozan. DeRozan, 41.5 PRA. You can kind of get an idea how hot DeMar DeRozan's been. We've talked about his points already, but the PRA has also been good to DDR. Last 10 games, 80% hit rate. Last 5 games, 80% hit rate. We've already talked about the matchup. We like the high totals on this game. We like the fact that it looks like it can stay close and competitive. So DeMar DeRozan, probably going to be a very popular option for a lot of people out there tonight in terms of PRA. So looking at the Charlotte Hornets here and what they're giving up to opposing small forwards, they're giving up about 22 points per game plus 9 rebounds. So you're already at 31 PRA. And then they're giving up about 6 to 7 assists. So we'll call it 38 PRA. Now he needs 42. It's a pretty high number. Charlotte doing their best to try and give up as many points, rebounds, and assists as possible to the small forward position, but it's going to take kind of a superhuman game, I would say, for DeMar DeRozan to hit this prop again. Not that he can't do it. He obviously can because of the hit rates. I'm just saying he's going to have one of those ceiling type of games. Now, at 41.5 PRA, he's being bet under. Being bet under at 41.5 PRA, minus 125, minus 120 respectively. And his projection, just 39.4. So there is a little bit of pessimism on DeMar DeRozan's name tonight when it comes to the PRA, despite his 80% last 10, his 80% last 5 hit rates. Are you guys in or out on DeMar DeRozan at 41.5 PRA? Has this number crept up too high to trust anymore? I don't know. Thumbs up if you're taking the over. Thumbs down. Thumbs down if you're taking the under on DeMar DeRozan PRA. Like I said, I think this will be a very popular pick. A lot of thumbs downs. Wow, a lot of thumbs downs. Whew. A lot of non-believers out there. I feel you, man. The number is high. And Vucevic's rebounds is another one that's very high. George. I agree. Vooch rebounds also very high. We'll talk about those in just a bit. Mike Conley Jr. was a guy that we talked about for his points prop. He had been really good in terms of covering his points prop, but they did not put his points prop up on the board. And it doesn't look like we're going to get his PRA prop either. Looking down here at the Utah Jazz, for whatever reason, they fear Mike Conley today. Mike Conley Jr., 22.5 PRA, also rocking an 80% hit rate. I'll talk about one more guy, and we've already discussed him for his points prop, but we'll also discuss his PRA, and I'm talking about Keldon Johnson of the San Antonio Spurs. Keldon Johnson, 22.5 PRA out on most sites, most books, but he's at 21.5 here on PrizePicks today. 70% hit rate for Keldon Johnson last 10 games, 80% hit rate for Keldon Johnson last 5 games. He's averaging 27.6 points, rebounds, and assists in that span. So he's another guy who could be in play for points, but he could also very well be in play for points, rebounds, and assists. You could take him either way. Both are looking like pretty solid ways to go. So let's go take a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, see how many PRA they're giving up to the position. Last 7 games, they're giving up 19 points, about 7 rebounds. So we're already rocking about 26 PRA. And then we add in about 3 to 4 assists, and we're sitting right around 30 to 31 points, rebounds, and assists allowed on average. So there's definitely some upside for Keldon Johnson in this matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's go ahead and pull up a projection for Keldon. I have him projected for 25.2. 25.2 PRA. That is nearly 4 PRA different. Now, I am seeing him at 21.5 out on a couple of different sports books. I thought we were going to get him at 22.5, but it looks like he's down at 21.5. So they're right in line with PrizePicks here. But the public smashing the over, minus 130 over at 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So I think his points or his PRA definitely in play. So those are your highest hit rate guys. All the rest of the guys that are up on the board, about 60% hit rates, okay? So we're going to just talk about the ones that have the highest hit rate, and we did. Jakob Poeltl, DeMar DeRozan, Mike Conley Jr., Keldon Johnson, all 70% or better in the last 10 games. Which brings us to the final category here, the 3-point makes. After I'm done with this, we'll start taking some of your questions. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible and help as many of you folks as I can in answering some of those hard-hitting, hard-pressing questions. As always, if you want to guarantee that your question gets read, Super Chat's probably your best friend. Best way to get it done. All right, so let's just quickly browse through these 3-point shooters, some of these props. Fred VanVleet's one guy that we actually have up on the board that we can talk about who's been getting the job done from beyond the arc over the last 10 games. 70% hit rate covering 3.5 threes, so that's 7 out of 10. And last 5 games, a little bit down. He's got a couple of stinkers in there. 60% hit rate, though. Not the end of the world. Still a decent hit rate. So we talked about liking maybe his assists. Now we're talking about his 3-point makes. It's going to be interesting how people play Fred VanVleet, because I know that they will. He's been a very popular play all season long. But he's averaging about 4 3-point makes per game over the last 5 games. So let's go to the 3 p.m., which is 3-point shots made column here on this simple to use, easy little chart provided by Fantasy Pros for free. You can go find it. Just Google Fantasy Pros, DVP, NBA, and something like that. It should come up. It should come up for you. Anyway, the Oklahoma City Thunder, in terms of 3-point makes allowed over the last 7 games, they're giving up about 2.5. So that puts them like right in the middle of the pack, right in the middle of the league here. Not overly difficult, not overly easy for Fred VanVleet. So not really scared off by the matchup. Do I wish that they were giving up more threes than that? I do. Selfishly, I do. Let's go take a look at a projection, though, for Fred VanVleet. See which way the action projection tool has VanVleet going tonight. They got him projected for 3.9, which is mighty close to 4, obviously. So that's good that he's closer to 4 than 3 in terms of the projections. And then we're seeing the betting public, they're liking the over on VanVleet at 3.5 3-point makes. They're hitting it minus 120, betting favorite to go over. So he could be one option for you to look at in terms of a guy who's been getting the job done from beyond the arc. Other ones to possibly consider. Let's see if any of these other ones are standing out. They're not giving us a lot of these high hit rate guys. A lot of the dudes that are up on the board right now, these guys are like 50-50 guys. Like a guy like Miles Bridges. The last 10 games, Miles Bridges has hit in just 40% of his last 10. And you look at the last 5, just a 20% hit rate. So, I mean, hard to trust these guys, some of them. So, I don't know that I ever feel completely good about any of them. Maybe you look at Steph Curry. He's never really a bad option. Always in play for me, especially at 4 3-point makes. He's hit 4 or more in 80% of the last 5 games. So maybe you take the over on Curry and you end up in a tie. Again, wouldn't be the worst case scenario. Utah giving up about 2.5 3-point makes in the last 7 games. And just for fun, I will pull up a projection for you. I got him projected for 5.6 3-point makes, but at 4.5, the public, very much smashing the under. Minus 155 betting favorite to go under 4.5 3-point makes, which is why he's at 4. So, not really loving very many of these 3-point props. So, that's going to be it for me, guys. Now, I will turn things over to you. And if you guys have questions, I'd be happy to take them at this point. You're saying Wiggins 3-point makes. Isaac, yeah, if we had him up on the board, that would be a sweet spot. I wouldn't be mad at you for taking some Andrew Wiggins 3-point makes. 1.5, very doable. Like you said, with a guy like Klay Thompson out, I would not be mad at that one. King United saying if Kevon Looney plays, then he's liking us taking a shot at 3.5 first half points without Rudy Gobert. Yeah, he'll likely be matched up against Azubuike of Utah. So not necessarily somebody that I'm afraid of. Not very formidable when it comes to matchup Azubuike. Somebody, who is that? Matt Clark is talking about maybe some Andrew Wiggins points without Klay Thompson. That could definitely be a look. Let's consider that. Andrew Wiggins, 16.5 points tonight, going up against Utah. As you mentioned, no Klay Thompson. So what we can do here is go Andrew Wiggins without Klay Thompson. Points logs. That's weird. That is not coming up right. What am I doing wrong here? Andrew Wiggins without Klay Thompson logs. Let's try that again. There we go. I don't know why it came up like that. But anyway, Andrew Wiggins without Klay Thompson, you can kind of take a look. Last 5 games, he's covered 16.5 points in 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5. So that's a 80% hit rate. 80% hit rate in the last 5 games. And you go back 5 previous games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He covered in all 5 of those games. So really, 90% hit rate over the last 10 games, 9 out of 10 at 17 or more points. So yeah, I think Andrew Wiggins could definitely be a fine play with Klay Thompson being out. Let's go get you a projection here on Andrew Wiggins. Got him projected for 19.7 points. We're seeing him at 16.5 points on 3 different sites. All three of those sites, 2 out of the 3 we're seeing unders. One site we're seeing an over. But the good news is one other site, a fourth site, has him up at 17.5 points, which means that Andrew Wiggins here, at least according to their lines makers, has a real shot between 17 and 18 points versus Utah. So not mad at that one, Matt. Not mad at that one. Talking about Anthony Davis rebounds. I think he ended up getting the job done last night, right? Anthony Davis boards, or did he fall short? Was he at 8.5 boards last night, gang, or was he at 9.5? I don't quite remember. Maybe he fell short by 1. Anyway, he's at 9 rebounds today, going up against Portland. Last time he played Portland, February 2nd, pulled in 15 rebounds against them. He had a nice little streak of double-digit rebounds going, 15, 17, 17, before falling last night down to 9 against a tough Milwaukee front court. Bobby Portis, obviously, and Giannis. So maybe he bounces back tonight against Portland. Portland's defense, as far as interior defense, not great. We saw what Wendell Carter Jr. was able to do to him last night. Had himself a really nice game. Portland, last 7 games, given up about 16 boards to opposing centers. If we look at the power forward position, Portland, giving up about 9.6 rebounds. So there's definitely some upside here for Anthony Davis. And the fact that we saw him just recently hit 15 rebounds against Portland leads me to believe that maybe there's some hope. Maybe there's some hope for Mr. Anthony Davis. I've got Anthony Davis. Well, I don't have Anthony Davis projected for anything. Let's reload the projection tools. Let's see if I've got an actual rebound prop projection for AD tonight. There we go. Got him projected for 10 boards. But at 9.5 on one site, being bet under at minus 130 to stay under. So maybe you end up in a tie, maybe you end up in a push here at 9 or more rebounds. But for me, I'd probably lean toward the over against Portland on AD. Alex M., which White are you talking about? Kobe White or Derek White under points? I got to get clarification on that. Duncan's asking about Josh Giddey's PRA. I think Josh Giddey's PRA could be in play. Do I worry about blowouts? A little bit. But over the last 5 games, Giddey's been covering 25.5 PRA in 100% of those last 5 games, averaging 31.4 points, rebounds, and assists in that span. He's going up against Toronto tonight. We got to look at the matchup a little bit here. Giddey's been serving as the sort of the de facto point guard without SGA around, right? So Toronto, last 7 games, they're giving up about 16 points, about 4 rebounds. That's about 20, plus about 7 assists. So that's about 27, 28 PRA. So there's a little bit of upside here versus the Raptors. His usage should be off the charts. I mean, he's going to be their primary playmaker, ball handler. He gets his hands in a little bit of everything. So I understand why you're liking the PRA. No question. No doubt. Let's go ahead and take a look at a projection for Giddey real quick. Try to buzz through as many of these questions as possible to kind of help you out with your research. I've got him projected for 25.1, which puts him in the ballpark in the neighborhood of 25.5. I wish it was like a strong over, like 26, 27 PRA, but Action Labs not liking Josh Giddey's PRA that much. But one site has him up at 25.5 PRA, and we're seeing the public take the over, minus 125, betting favorite to go over. LaMelo PRA. Matt wants to know about LaMelo Ball's points, rebounds, and assists. Let's take a look at him real quick. This dude's been slumping. 3 straight games, he has gone under 36.5 PRA. It's a shame that Lonzo's not playing. Really like watching the Ball brothers duke it out. So you look at the last 5 games, just a 40% hit rate, averaging 33 PRA. It's not looking great for LaMelo Ball. So are you taking this in hopes that this is a bounce back game for him? That this is a spot for him to get right against Chicago? Well, let's just see how many points, rebounds, and assists they've been getting up. We'll call it 18 points. We'll call it 7 boards. That's 25 plus another 7. That's about 32 to 33 PRA. Wrong team. Chicago, not Cleveland. My bad. Let's run that back. 27 points allowed. Much better. 6 to 7 rebounds allowed per game. So you're at like 34 PRA. And then 11 assists. 45 PRA or so. Much, much better. Sorry. Almost gave you the Cleveland Cavaliers numbers. Chicago Bulls giving up way more points, rebounds, and assists in the last 7 to point guards than the Cavaliers are. So I'm with you on that. This could be a spot for him to kind of get right, to get back on track. Let's pull up a projection. Got LaMelo projected for 43 PRA. Holy smokes. 43 PRA. So the Action Labs projection tools really liking LaMelo Ball. As I always mention, cross-reference this, double check on some of those other sites, those free ones out there, the Number Fires, the Betting Pros, the Roto Wires. Double check, cross-reference. This is just one projection model, one site. But yes, they're loving LaMelo Ball. And the fact that we're getting them at a discount, meaning we're getting 36.5 PRA versus 37.5 PRA out on some other sites. That's also a good thing. That also makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Alex M., we talked about Zach LaVine points. I think he's definitely in play. Love the game. Love the matchup. My man David coming through with the super chat. David wants to discuss some LaMelo Ball fantasy. Terry Rozier fantasy. Vegas has team total points at 117, paired with some Fred VanVleet rebounds. Okay. Well, we definitely like LaMelo Ball in terms of PRA. At least the matchup looks really good, right? Against Chicago. We go over here to this last column, fantasy points column. You see that the Chicago Bulls are giving up over 55 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards in the last 7 games. 55, second most. So that is a lot of fantasy points. LaMelo Ball, he's at 39 fantasy points. So you can kind of see his PRA and his fantasy points, same hit rate over the last 5 games, 40% on both. So he's not hitting one at a higher hit rate than the other. So if you wanted to go PRA, if you wanted to go fantasy points, tomato, it's about the same. But yeah, the Bulls giving up a ton of FanDuel points or fantasy points in this case. I can pull a projection up for you for LaMelo Ball. Got him projected for, I'm going to whisper this so the PrizePicks doesn't hear. Got him projected for 52.8 fantasy points. That's a lot. That's a huge difference. He's at 39 on PrizePicks, 52.8 fantasy points, and his rating today is 91 out of a possible 100. So if LaMelo Ball ever wanted to come back to life and get right, yeah, tonight could be a good night for LaMelo Ball. You also mentioned Terry Rozier in your super chat. He's at 33 fantasy points. I took him the other night against Toronto. It was a sweat fest. Didn't start out great in the first half, but man, did he come alive in the second half, and he ended up covering his fantasy point prop of, I think it was 32.5 the other night. He's at 33 today on PrizePicks. 33 shooting guard spot. Looking at the Chicago Bulls, they're giving up about 39 to 40 fantasy points per game in the last 7 games. So I think I like LaMelo Ball a little bit more. But what do I know? I know nothing, right? None of us do. Nobody knows anything, gang. We're all just trying to do our best, make our best educated guess. But I will tell you this, that just like LaMelo Ball, there's a huge gap here in the fantasy projections for Terry Rozier and Fantasy Labs. 41.8 projected fantasy points. He's at 33 on PrizePicks. Again, highly suggest, strongly recommend that you double check his fantasy projections on some other sites. This is, again, just one model, one site. It could be way off. It could be screwy. Who knows? But definitely do a little bit more digging. Both of those guys, though, I think are in play, David. Rozier with an 86.7 out of 100 rating. And then the last pick that you mentioned in your super chat was some Fred VanVleet but you're going to go rebounds. He's at 4 boards against OKC. We look at the last 5 games, 4 or more rebounds. He has hit that in 100% of his last 5 games. 5 for 5 at 4 or more. There's a chance that you end up in a push. There's a chance that you end up in a tie. But I would say that I agree with you. You have to kind of lean toward the over on Fred VanVleet versus OKC at 4 rebounds, right? 100% hit rate. So we can go look at this matchup real quick. Point guards, rebounds, and then we look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Guys, they're giving up over 8 boards per game. That is the fourth most. The fourth most. So there's upside here for sure. The matchup looks good for Fred VanVleet. Let's pull a projection up for VanVleet's boards. I've got him projected for 4.6. We're seeing him at 4.5 rebounds, 3 different books, 3 different sites. Minus 135 betting favorite to go under, which is why PrizePicks has put him down at 4. At 4. But yeah, I think those are 3 solid picks, David. Appreciate you sharing that with me. Guys, if you have not dropped a like on the stream yet, I thank you in advance for doing so. But yeah, I think all of those look like really strong plays. Chav wants to know fantasy points and PRA. Why do fantasy? Fantasy is just steals and blocks added to PRA, right? Well, no. You guys should definitely take a little time and familiarize yourself with the scoring charts on how fantasy scoring works. So it's not just like PRA. In other words, you don't get 1 for 1, right? One rebound for fantasy points is not just 1 point. It's actually 1.2. 1 assist is not just 1 point. It's actually 1.5. And for blocks, you get 3 points. For steals, you get 3 points. You do lose points in the turnover category. -1 for each turnover. So it's not exactly like PRA. For each real life point, you get 1 point. But the other stats, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals are weighted differently. It's not a 1-to-1 apples to apples like PRA. So some guys actually perform better in the fantasy points category than they do in the PRA category. The guys that are racking up blocks and steals, they probably perform a little bit better. The guys that are getting a lot of assists, they probably perform a little bit better in fantasy points than they do in PRA exclusively. So, got to take a look at them scoring charts. But yeah, that is kind of your big differences there between fantasy points and PRA. Jeff says, Melo's fantasy points just got bumped. Let's go look at it. You know that this stream changes some lines, right? It changes things. You got to get these plays locked in as soon as you see them. If you love them, you got to take them. Can't waste any time. So there's a lot of people watching these streams. A lot of people watching. A lot of people are running out there and they're smashing some entries. So when the money starts coming in hot on these picks, guys, PrizePicks will adjust accordingly. They will move the lines. They will bump stuff up. They will bump stuff down. So it is important that if there's something that you absolutely love, something that you absolutely like, that you go out and grab it ASAP. How many people do we have watching? 241 people? So if 241 people are liking LaMelo Ball over fantasy points, and they all go grab some entries with LaMelo Ball over fantasy points, PrizePicks is going to do what they do. They're going to bump the line up, or in some cases bump the line down if we're taking unders on anybody. So yes, what we do here is influencing the lines. There's a lot of people watching. There's a lot of people running out, taking action when we talk about a play that looks really good. So don't be surprised if lines move. They will move on you. Absolutely. So, Accolade coming through with another super chat. Zach LaVine, 24.5 points over is the most popular step or prop, I guess, in this chat today. It was mentioned over 50 times. Wow. Over 50 times. That's crazy. Okay. Well, maybe that means something. Yeah, maybe that means something. Plumlee points. Let's go take a look at Plumlee points. Somebody mentioned Plumlee points. Well, yeah, we could take a look at those. Mason Plumlee. He's at 7.5 points. He's going up against the Chicago Bulls. You're liking him? At just a 40% hit rate in the last 5 games? Ugh. I mean, maybe. I guess. I don't know that you have to go here. I mean, if you like to sweat, maybe you go here, but I don't know that you have to. Now, Chicago is giving up over 28 points per game to centers, which is the 4th most. Now, we don't think of Mason Plumlee as a top-tier scorer or anything, so we do have to consider the player, not just the matchup, but the player involved here, which is Mason Plumlee. Could he get it done? Absolutely. He needs 8 points. Bulls are giving up over 28 points. So that's like 20-point difference, right? Let's go pull up Mason Plumlee's projection here for you. He's projected for 8.8 points, so the projection models do like the over. At 7.5 points, he is a betting favorite to go over on 4 different sites, 4 different books. So, Mason Plumlee, you could go there. You definitely could. But yeah, if there's something that you guys are absolutely loving, you gotta run and go get them, because the lines will move. We are moving lines live here on this stream with 200 and something people watching. So Mike 4KT says, check out Isaac Okoro's points. That could be a good underplay. Well, you make kind of a good point. So we talked about earlier, Karis LeVert's going to be joining the mix for Cleveland. Darius Garland, he's a game time decision, but he might be back in the lineup for Cleveland. So where does that leave Okoro? How many points, how many crumbs are left over for Isaac Okoro tonight? The last 5 games, he's gone under 9 points in just one. He's pushed or better. He's pushed or covered in 4 out of 5, an 80% hit rate. So like I said earlier, for me, I'm going to take the wait and see approach. I want to see how Karis LeVert, Darius Garland, Mobley, Allen, how they all gel. But if you want to be a speculator and you have a hunch or a feeling that Isaac Okoro is going to kind of be left out in the cold and there's not going to be enough touches, enough shots, enough volume for him to go for 9 or more points, then I can understand you possibly taking the under here. Just for fun, I will pull up a projection. We got him at 10.2 projected points, but he is a betting favorite to go under 9.5 points on 3 different sites, 3 different books. We're reaching toward the end of the stream here. So I'm going to take a couple more, gang. Yeah, Cooper, we talked about Mike Conley's points at the top of the show. He was not up on the board when we first started the stream today. But I did mention Mike Conley at 13.5 points because in the last 10 games, a 90% hit rate for Mike Conley Jr. So I think that he should definitely be somebody worth looking at. Last 5 games, a 100% hit rate. 15, 22, 17, 14, and 18. He's going up against Golden State tonight. So let's look at the matchup real quick. See how many points per game over the last 7 games that the Warriors are allowing to opposing point guards. They're giving up almost 23 points per game, putting them right around the middle of the pack, toward the top of the middle, but middle. So I think this is a game where there's definitely some upside here for Mike Conley in the matchup. I've got Conley projected for 15.3 points at 13.5. 3 different books, 3 different sites. The public also agreeing that they're riding with Mike Conley on 14 or more points tonight. So yeah, we talked about Conley's points, and that could be one definitely worth considering. 90% hit rate last 10. 100% hit rate in the last 5. Cooper, we talked Andrew Wiggins' points earlier. Very high hit rate, 9 out of the last 10 games without Klay Thompson in the lineup. Andrew Wiggins has covered his points prop, so that'd probably be the way that I'd be looking. James, yeah, we talked Pirtle's points earlier. Yeah, see, Chav, I like to wait for as much injury news. I like to have as much information as possible before I lock in any props. Help Meha says, any other sport props you liking early so we can do this challenge? Not really. I've been locked in on NBA. I know that in Discord, if you're part of the Patreon community in Discord, there's definitely some folks in there who are talking CSGO, talking some other sports. But I have not been focused on anything other than NBA for today. But if you could help my boy out, if anybody's got any good picks from my boy, help Meha, need your help. Nikola Vucevic rebounds. Yeah, I think that's going to be one that a lot of people are like looking sideways at. He was at what, 12 and a half boards, was it, to start the day, or was it 13 and a half and people started betting the under? I don't know. I don't remember, but he's at 13 now nonetheless. So he's gone for 13 or more in 3 out of 5 games. So that's a 60% hit rate. So Vucevic, been doing the Lord's work here on the rebounds, but he's going up against Mason Plumlee, who's also been doing the Lord's work on the glass. So something's got to give, right? One of these two bigs is going to win that rebound battle. Now, Charlotte, they're giving up over 18 rebounds per game over the last 7 games, which is the second most. Second most. And we've seen Vucevic post 18, 17 rebound upside, guys. So it's not impossible here. I know the number seems high, but Charlotte's given up a ton of boards to opposing centers. So I think Vucevic, while the number is high, it is not impossible. Now, as far as projections go, I've got him projected for 12.4 rebounds, which is less than 13. He's at 13 and a half on 3 different sites, 3 different books. He's being bet under, slightly under on all 3 of those books. So I think he was at 13 and a half to start the day on PrizePicks. He is now down at 13. I think we've got some non-believers in Nikola Vucevic at 13 and a half boards who bet the under, caused the line to be rounded down, bumped down to 13. So, yeah, I don't think it's impossible for Vucevic, but not easy. Not easy. Kyle's mentioning Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges at 3.5 assists. Last 3 games, he dropped 7, 5, and 5, respectively. We talked about it earlier. Gordon Hayward out for Charlotte. Don't know how that impacts Miles Bridges exactly, but what we can do is use StatMuse to help answer that question. So you can go Miles Bridges assists without Gordon Hayward logs. All right. So we'll just look at this season. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. 7 games in his game logs this season without Gordon Hayward. How many times has he covered 3.5? Let's count it down. 1, 2. 2 for 7 without Gordon Hayward in the lineup this season for Miles Bridges. So his hit rates, not great without Gordon Hayward. I know some people will look at the last 3 games and be like, wowie, he's, dropping 7, 5, and 5. But you got to go a little bit further, consider who was in, who was out. In this case tonight, Gordon Hayward will be out. It's not impossible, though, especially in a game like this with the high total, right? Like, he could still get it done. I'm just saying, over the last 7 games without Gordon Hayward from this season, he has not converted on 4 or more assists at a very high hit rate. Just 2 out of 7. Okay? 2 out of 7. Bridges, he is projected for 3.9 dimes. 2 sites out of 3, we're seeing him being bet under 3.5 assists. There is one site where people are taking the over, though. Aaron Rodgers is saying Bridges ain't getting 4 assists. He hasn't been getting it done. So you right. You right. Is Jarrett Allen out? Not to my knowledge. unless that has happened since I went live. Let's see. As of right now, the key NBA news to watch: Darius Garland, back, questionable. Rashawn Holmes, personal, TBD. Eric Bledsoe, Achilles, TBD. Lonnie Walker, knee, questionable. Kevon Looney, quad, questionable. Marvin Bagley III, ankle, to be determined. Mo Harkless, ankle, to be determined. I do not have any information about Jared Allen being ruled out for any reason. So, no, I don't think Jared Allen is out. Yeah, Nick, we talked about Anthony Davis rebounds. I'd probably lean toward the over on AD's rebounds. He was projected for 10. He's at 9 right now on PrizePicks, and the matchup against Portland looks pretty sweet. So, yeah, I would not take the over on Miles Bridges' assists. I would probably fade it, or I'd probably just go under. Anyway, gang, I think I'm going to get up out of here. We talked pretty at length about a lot of these picks, a lot of these props, a little bit over our 90-minute runtime that we try to stick to. But I appreciate, once again, everybody being here. If you got any value out of this, if you found this informative, entertaining, infotaining, appreciate the like and share it with somebody who may not know about the channel. Let's help grow this thing. Let's try to reach as many people as possible. Chat, you guys have been fantastic as always, leaving some very good questions, leaving some very good picks and plays for us to look at here together. We are helping one another, whether you believe it or not, and I want to keep doing that. So I appreciate you guys helping the channel grow, and we'll get the message out to as many people as possible. I'm off to see my barber because your boy's looking a little rough lately. Next time you see me, I'll be all glowed up for you guys. Stay tuned. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time, same channel, same time. Appreciate you guys and all your support. See you then. Peace out.